Assalamu alaikum and welcome to In Conversation With. Today I've got Dr. Munzar Eid Al-Zamalkani, the author of Syria, From Revolution from Below to Holy War. Dr. Al-Zamalkani comes from Syria and has dedicated his work to shedding light on the often misunderstood and complex events of the Syrian Revolution that began all the way back in 2011. He acquired a BA and diploma in political economy from the University of Damascus before leaving Syria, and an MSc in international relations from the University of Bristol, as well as a PhD in international relations from the University of St Andrews in the UK, where he's been living since 1998. In his book, Dr. Al-Zamalkani meticulously details the missing aspects of the Syrian Revolution, aiming to clear up prevailing misconceptions about the war in his country. He offers a unique perspective by dividing the revolution into three distinct phases. Firstly, the revolution from below, a period characterized by a popular and peaceful uprising. Secondly, the internal war, marked by the spread of mutual violence following the formation of the FSA, or the Free Syrian Army. And thirdly, the Holy War, the Jihad, where many revolutionaries turned into national jihadists, joined by global jihadists to fight the Assad regime and establish the Islamic State, or the Khilafat. And Dr. Zamalkani's work goes beyond the surface, providing a comprehensive investigation into the rise and fall of ISIS. He uses the term internal war rather than civil war to offer a more precise analysis of the conflict. Additionally, his book delves into the international relations surrounding the Syrian Revolution, examining the behavior of states, sub-state actors and international organizations. And furthermore, Dr. Al-Zamalkani documents the massacres and war crimes committed by Bashar al-Assad, Iran and their proxy militias against the Syrian people, ensuring that these atrocities are not forgotten. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Munzar Eid Al-Zamalkani, a dedicated scholar whose work provides invaluable insights into one of the most significant conflicts of our time. Assalamu alaikum, welcome.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you.
Syria's been in the news quite a lot. Obviously, we've had, over the past 16 months, a lot of focus on what's taking place in Gaza, the genocide, etc. But out of the ashes of what was taking place in Syria, in December, and I distinctly remember around the 8th or 9th of December, news reports coming in of, during that ceasefire between Lebanon and, Hezbollah and Israel, of the militias, the armies, those who were encamped for so many years in Aleppo, around Aleppo and, surrounding that city and starting to retake the country. How significant has it been, this particularly, very short period, only 2 months or so since those momentous events? And here we are now where the de facto leader of Syria is now meeting international leaders, and he's even slated to meet President Macron, the first Western leader, very, very soon.
Well, thank you very much. First, absolutely, it was like very, very hard 14 years of revolution and 14 years of sacrifices from the Syrian people.
Yeah.
And everyone has seen in the globe about the brutality and the vicious nature of the Assad regime. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just actually an achievement for Syrians, it's an achievement for the whole region and achievement for the whole world. That vicious regime in Syria, been there for almost 60 years. You know, of course, the story about how they inherited the power.
Sure.
And by the way, Syria wasn't a monarch. It's a republic. But they made, because of corruption, because of the military power, they inherited power. And I'm afraid they didn't change.
Yeah.
So Bashar al-Assad didn't change. So it was a hardship not just for 14 years. It was intense hardship for 14 years. But for almost 60 years, people of Syria, their life was ruined, their life was destroyed, and Syria turned it from being the paradise of the Middle East into ruins. And as you can see the images in the TV, that's how Bashar al-Assad destroyed the whole country, and it's a mass destruction in the country. So it's absolutely. I cried. I have achieved a lot of achievement in my life, education, but when the fall of Assad, I cried and I felt nothing before at all, because this is something amazing, something astonishing. I wouldn't believe it, that will happen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So, and alhamdulillah, we have seen it, and we should if we would thank Allah for every minute, wouldn't be enough. Alhamdulillah, yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think for those of us living in Britain or in the Western countries, everybody thought that the Syrian people had lost against the regime, a brutal regime, no doubt. However, what took place during the last two very momentous months, and nobody could underscore how momentous they've been, it's been overshadowed, like I said, because of other issues taking place. But if you just focus on the Syrian Revolution itself, for a people to overthrow such a brutal dictatorial regime backed by superpowers, you know, the Russia and Iran, I suppose, regional powers at least, and to come out on top was something incredible. So tell us why, and this is the stitch that I'm making, what then made you write this particular book? I mean, where does that fit in now after you've seen the revolution become successful?
It was a misconception about the Syrian Revolution spreading in the West, especially and among the community. And here in the West, we've got the socialists always pretend or like portrays that the Syrian Revolution is something from Israel or American backing. But I'm afraid to say they are either they don't know, the reality, or they are misguiding the people. There is no other explanation. I tried even to approach the people here in the UK, Mr. Jeremy Corbyn, Mr. Galloway, just to explain to them what's going on really in Syria. It's not what, as they're thinking. Or maybe they've got different agenda, different views, I'm not sure. But this is misconception in the media and academia. Everyone calls it civil war. It's not civil war. We are not fighting each other. Muslims not fighting Christians, Christians not fighting Shias, Shias not fighting Alawis. There is no fight among the communities in Syria. There is one thing, a regime killing its people, a regime killing the opposition. That's it. A regime brutalizing its own people. This is what happened in the country, simple as that. There is no civil war. And this is why I differentiate between civil war and internal war. Sure. I reject any calls or any calls for to call it as civil war. It is an internal war, because internal war, it is actually any use of power against political institution to change policies, strategies, or rulers. This is internal war, and that exactly was going on in Syria. Okay, well, some of the points you highlighted actually are covered in the three sections that we've laid out. We'll come to. Certainly the one I'm interested in is the third one, which is about the global jihadists, etc. Because that's where a lot of the conspiracy theories sort of fly in. Tell us about those three distinct phases of the revolution, starting off with, actually, wrote the slogan on the wall. Tell us about that. Actually, I divided the revolution into three phases. Like, this is the trajectory of the revolution. Revolution from below, which I meant popular uprising, and we have to not forget this came into the relation with the Arab Spring. Yeah. So it was from Tunisia, Egypt, as you know, Libya, and Yemen, and this is come in this context. So everyone was saying Syria will never rise against Bashar al-Assad because they know the nature of this vicious regime. But the Syrian people, they made it. They proved they are so brave, and they made it. They paid a lot of sacrifices, but at the end they made it, and they achieved victory. So it was popular uprising. So people by the way, the people from the beginning didn't ask for regime change. They need political freedom, political reform. So, but Assad was, so stubborn. If you can imagine that the king of Saudi Arabia at the time, King Abdullah, the king of Morocco, he made some concessions without even their uprising were there. People asked him, make some concessions, make some, at least, in theory, let's talk about theory, you can crush revolution by two means, by deception or by violence. Deception, how you deceive people? To pretend you are doing reform. People will calm down. Just pretend. He even refused to do so. So he was so stubborn, refusing to do any concessions, no political reform, nothing whatsoever. So that, of course, he relied on security to crash. Yeah. We have seen a lot of people have been mutilated. The children, Hamza al-Khatib, Sidnaya prison, like, stories kind of go on and on for years about what happened in Syria, especially. So he used the security option, I'm afraid. And this is the results, of course. And, was a popular uprising. Then, of course, it spread from Daraa. When people of, for instance, saw what happened to the people of Daraa in other cities, like say Damascus, suburb of Damascus, Banyas, Homs, and then spread all over the country. And he had till that moment, he still had to just fix things and calm people down, but he refused.
I mentioned Hama, and it was a slip of the tongue. It was Daraa, but the reason I mentioned Hama was in Hama there was another revolution that took place where his father brutally crushed and killed. Some say 30,000, some say 50,000 in an encampment which literally, was a killing spree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tell us about that, and do you think that's what influenced Assad to go with the security option as opposed to saying, well, actually, perhaps this is a better option, i.e., giving concessions?
I've mentioned in my book. By the way, it was around 40,000 people in Hama in 1982, and we just come back past the anniversary of that massacre. I mentioned in my book about it, and he told his advisor Bashar al-Assad, my dad taught them a lesson for 30 years.
Yeah.
I will teach them a lesson for 100 years.
Wow.
So this is, I have resources. He himself said that. So his option was just security and crushing that price. And it was, as I said, peaceful. People used to even offer water, flowers to the security. We are your brothers. Don't kill us. Don't harm us.
Yes. But trying to persuade the regime.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then when did it become when did it transition? Tell us about the transition. You mentioned it in your book really well. The transition from being a peaceful revolution into taking up arms to defend local communities.
Well, this is very important because, you can't be patient for unlimited. Okay? And no one died for nothing. Yeah. Especially in the war zone. So people realized this is the end. He's only using military. He only using weapons to crash the demonstrations. Mm-hmm. No talk, no dialogue, nothing, no even concession. So they now realized we are dying for nothing. We are dying cheap. All right. So they decided to just retaliate as a reaction.
Yes.
It's not an action. This is, I call it a reactionary strategy, because someone firing at you, you've got to retaliate. Mm-hmm. Before they were saying Hurriya or freedom or Allahu Akbar, but was going from mosque. By the way, was going from mosque on Fridays. So it wasn't Islamic, but by Muslims.
Yeah,
Muslims going out from Friday prayers. And they demonstrate peacefully, saying Allahu Akbar. But there's no arms, nothing whatsoever at that time. So here when the game changed, they said, okay, no, we're not going to die for nothing. We have to defend ourselves, defend our families, defend our properties, because he was crushing people, crushing properties, crushing, taking women, to custody. So they said, no, enough. We have to have a reaction. So then we start the second phase of revolution, where I call it internal war. So start the violence, the mutual violence now.
And then you mentioned the FSA, the Free Syrian Army.
Of course.
Because some army conscripts or generals actually sided with the revolutionaries, didn't they?
This is a very big milestone in the trajectory of the revolution. The defections of some honest people in the army.
Yes.
Mainly Sunnis, by the way. Or
of course.
Not mainly.
But I actually did read that there was one or two Alawi generals as well, and others, minorities, who did take part in the revolution as well.
Not generals.
Not too many.
Not generals, not top generals. Maybe very, very low rank.
Okay, fine.
Not
Thanks for clarifying.
So here, people in the army, they saw what's going on. They found out the allegation of the regime is false. Because the allegation of the regime, I'm fighting terrorism. I'm fighting terrorist people. People want to do disruption in the country. I'm crushing. Exactly what the same discourse used in Libya, the same discourse used in Egypt before. So he used the same discourse. But so people realized this is nothing. This is our people. This is our children. This is our sons and daughters that are demonstrating. There's no foreigners, nothing even. At that time, there's no one from outside the country. So they defected from the army. And by the way, not just because they saw the brutality of the regime against their own people.
Yes.
They have their own problems in the army. Maybe many people, many brothers and sisters, they don't know. you can't pray in the Syrian army. If you are in the army, by the way, it's compulsory to go to army in Syria. Beard, no way. Beard, you go to prison, but you can't pray. If you prayed, if they found out that you are praying, prison or got some punishment, but you can't pray in this is an Islam, a Muslim country.
Yes,
and you can't pray.
Yes.
So people they suffer from discrimination. There is promotion. Always they don't get promoted to higher rank.
Yeah, because
they are almost discriminated against. So they have their own agony from the regime. So this is the chance actually.
So they some of the army come towards the side of the revolutionaries, but then how did that formation of the Free Syrian Army then transmorph into a collection or a haven for global fighters to come into Syria?
Absolutely. But before going to that, a global jihad, the Free Syrian Army wasn't like an organization, independent organization or body.
Sure.
No, it was scattered.
Yeah.
Like from revolutionary people, I am from Syria. Anyone fighting the regime, for instance, I am a Free Syrian Army. So anyone wasn't from the army, wasn't from the revolution, from civilian. Anyone fighting the regime came under an umbrella. So the Free Syrian Army came like an umbrella above all fractions fighting the regime, whether from the army or who defected, or from the people.
And there was a time when victory seemed imminent. I mean, people were talking about the fall of Assad being imminent. I mean, hours at one point until the Russians came in. Tell us about how that, and I suppose that would link on, as you say in your book.
By the way, there is very, very big international support for Assad regime from the West and the East, not just Russia.
Sure.
And I want to clarify, and I clarified in my book very clearly, the first people who imposed embargo against the Free Syrian Army to get arms was European Union.
Yes.
So not just Russia.
Yeah.
Even the United States of America, they supported the regime to the last minute. So this is our struggle. While not just Russia plans support, but there is hidden agendas on the table. And I'm not speaking about conspiracy theory. I'm speaking about facts and reality in my book.
No, I think
and we have seen it, by the way. You know, when Obama introduced when he said the policy, red line policy, use anything but not chemical weapons.
Yeah.
Chemical weapons is a red line. All of us remember.
Everybody remembers that.
So, and chemical weapons was used.
Yes.
And by the way, by used in my own town.
Which is
Zamalka and Al-Ghouta, Zamalka.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming from exactly the missiles went in my town, and a lot of people get killed, disappeared, families eliminated. So there is not just Russia. Russia supporting the regime. No, not just Russia. The whole world supporting Russia. If you look, even the United Nations, there's no serious efforts towards punishing the regime. So until that comes, I think, when we reach now September 2025. I'll tell you why the game has changed after the end of the conversation. But at that time, when we had the mutual violence between the regime and the Free Syrian Army, then developed into, I call it, a holy war.
Yes.
So before people coming from abroad, no, Syrian people, they turn into jihadists. Because what does it mean, jihadist? I use the religion slogans, yeah? So I'm not going to die for... No one died for empty slogans.
No.
Someone told me, I interviewed, I can go and shout for democracy. I can go and shout for freedom. But I would never, ever die just for the sake of Allah. He told me that. Many, but not just... This is the voice of all Muslims. I am Muslim. I wouldn't die for freedom. I wouldn't die for democracy. No, I am a Muslim. So you've got to have... And this is, by the way, theoretically approved by Western scholars. People always get refuge in religion when there is a problem, when there is a crisis.
Yeah.
So they get motivation, all right, when you
from their belief system.
From their belief, all religion, not just Muslims. Anyone.
But then, a lot of people from across the world. I mean, in this country, there was a famous girl called Shamima Begum,
of course,
age 14 and 15. Yeah. Was groomed and she went into Syria. That's just one example of so many that went there across the world. I mean, you can go on YouTube and do a search and there are literally videos, documentaries made about global jihadists in Syria and documenting their lives. Is that something that was a danger, and is that the reason why many got turned off from the revolution?
I tell you what, I put the blame on the international community, because if the international community interfered earlier and helped the Syrian people, no one will go to help the Syrian people.
But then would that not then feed into that conspiracy that says, and it mainly comes from the far left, the socialists, not all of them, but certainly a prominent segment of them, that say, well, here's evidence that this was a CIA-sponsored, Israel-supported, backed by Saudi and Turks to overthrow one of the bastions of opposition to Israel, you know?
I'm sure these leftists, they believe in Yasser Arafat.
Yes.
They love Yasser Arafat. And they go back, and I advise them to go back and see what Yasser Arafat was talking about the Syrian and the Assad regime. And I quote, he said, Yasser Arafat himself said, we have two Sharons in the area, Sharon of Israel and Sharon of the Arabs. He means Hafiz Assad.
Yes.
So, and Hafiz Assad and the Assad regime, he killed more Palestinians than Israel itself. And you can't ask any Palestinians in Lebanon, in Syria, and everywhere. You know, so I don't know where their ideas come from. To be honest, for that reason, I asked for many of them, Mr. Jeremy Corbyn, Mr. Garawi, to have a meeting to discuss the issue. Come on, let's talk. Maybe you don't know something.
Okay.
So
in your book, you also explore the actions of the surrounding countries. You know, those who are key players: Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the GCC states, UAE. You know, such a small country but such a big player. Do you think you need the support of these countries to actually survive and not be taken over by another military strongman or what have you?
I tell you what, all states, they interfere for their benefit, for their interest. No one does for you anything for free. This is politics. This is international relations. This is national interest. No one. Britain offered some help here for their national interest. No one offered you, not just, I give you an example. Saudi Arabia, when they send like medical whatever team to help the Syrian for national interest, no one give you something for free. They want something in return. Maybe some concessions. This we need to find out later. We're not sure what kind of people ask for in return. But as a doctrine, no one give you anything for free.
There's no such thing as a free lunch, as we say in this country. Dr. Zamalkani, look, it's a very fascinating book. I'd love to continue and talk more about the book itself, but we've come to the end of the segment. I was just going to say to you, in closing, what do you hope that the revolutionaries that have now taken control will do in the next 6 months to a year, or maybe even longer than that? And are you hopeful about the signs that you see right now, very quickly?
Absolutely, I'm very hopeful. We have finished from the most vicious regime on earth. People around us in the area, they should thank the Syrian people for the sacrifice. We finished from the Iranian influence in the area, which is endangering the whole identity of the region, because the prominent region is not Shia, it's Sunni. So Iran was taking control, trying to promote Shiism in the area. So Syria have made. I'm hopeful to come for people, especially the states, to lift their sanctions and let's build our country by our means.
Okay, that was Dr. Munzar Eid Al Zamalkani, and this is his book. Make sure if you get a chance to read it. Thank you very much.